It absolutely blows my mind that the makers looked at their material and believed that it's the three inconsequential item songs that will really create the hype for this movie. Thamma has been a frustrating title to keep track of. It is part of the Maddock Horror Comedy Universe that has all the plans for its slate to develop into this eventual Mahayudh like the Avengers that will take place in 2028. Even though the movies in the slate have become progressively more mid, the popularity of these movies have not simmered down at all, Stree 2 becoming one of the biggest Bollywood hits in years. Aditya Sarpudar, responsible for Munjia that featured new faces, went on to become a sleeper hit, and he has handed over the biggest project from the horror universe till now, with a reported budget of 145 crores, even more than Stree 2. The pressure was really on him to deliver. Thamma focuses on Alok, played by Ayushmann Khurana, a news reporter who through unfortunate circumstances and fate meets Tadka, played by Rashmika Mandanna, and turns into a being termed as Betal. This was slightly confusing during the marketing of the film whether this movie focuses on a vampire story, but it is connected to Betal, which is defined as entities in the film who create a balance in the world in which humans reside. While many of the traits are associated with vampires, especially if you were to look at the visual context of the film and the powers that get possessed by individuals, subsistence through blood, teeth and fangs that develop, and being averse to sunlight at least at the nascent stage of one's powers, the makers heavily rely on the folklore of Betal versus the rules dictated for vampires. As Ankur possesses these powers and his romance with Tadka comes in contention with the rules of the society of Betal, Yakshasan, played by Nawazuddin Siddiqui, currently in shackles, and the ultimate Betal himself, who is adamant in eliminating the human race, comes in conflict with them. The expected beats of comedy and a deep dive into the folklore is essentially the storyline of Thamma. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Thamma in theaters or not. Background score and folklore potential. I always look for the silver lining, and I must say that the score specifically created by Sachin Jigar especially stands out in this film when exploring the origin story of the world of Betals and when the film marginally wants to attempt to showcase some spooky elements. The only song, however, that actually fits the theme of the film is Rahe Na Rahe Hum, for it represents the nature of the relationship shared between Ayushman and Rashmika. There are several elements of the world of Betal from the centuries that they have been present in the world, what their purpose is, who will become their ultimate Thamma, whether they lie on the good or bad side of humanity, and all of these features of their world tying into the tales of folklore that we have all read. This material itself has a lot of potential, and the only time the movie piques your interest is when it takes these themes seriously or when it connects characters from the extended universe. The problem with the movie and why it doesn't soar to become exceptional is because it is adamant in staying true to its horror comedy balance so much that time is spent on such ludicrous gags and confusion that the film takes far too long to get to its point. Keep aside whatever was the ultimate quality of a movie like Brahmastra, but you remember the marketing snippets of providing us an insight into its world? It generated way more interest for the film and its themes than just random item songs. Speaking of which, made unnecessary item songs and meme influences. The biggest death of the hype surrounding this movie is the outdated nature in which it has been promoted. The makers of this franchise assumed that Tamanna Bhatia's Aaj Ki Raat became such a national sensation that if we employ the same model to promote the next title, it will obviously provide results, not realizing that Stree does not need a song to generate hype because it is the most popular IP that they possess. This stubborn nature to not evolve with each different title and use the same boring strategies where women are sexualized as marketing tools is the reason why Thamma, even on a Diwali release, has a lukewarm response. There is a very popular analyst who gave the review of this movie way in advance, specifically speaking about how the music of this film perfectly blends in the screenplay and how its purpose in the story is justified and it's not a mere skin show to titillate, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Because I find this very funny that there used to be a meme of John Abraham with a pensive look walking through shady bars and clubs as Nora Fatehi used to dance in the background in order to justify the presence of the item song. They would have the leading man, cracking a deal or finding the villain in that said shady bar. The justification in this movie is as low effort as that. Dilbar Ki Aankhon Ka featuring Nora Fatihi when introduced to a Betal den, Poison Baby featuring Malaika Arora on a random date, and Tum Mere Na Hue with Rashmika Mandanna just as a post-credit dance number. If more focus of the marketing material was genuinely on building interest regarding the folklore, the state of origin, the core of what makes horror so intriguing, like what the first three did, I believe this film would have way more interest than it has today. Even the comedic gags are very childish. Beyond one or two laughs, the movie is heavily dependent on what we associate with our cable television gags or what we associate with Bollywood movies in the mid-2000s. The gags revolve around characters being hard of hearing, and then the misheard word becomes the core of the gag. जंगल के अंदर जाना वर्जिन है, वर्जिन नहीं वर्जित. तुम्हें छोड़ने की बात कर रहे हैं वो. If that wasn't low-hanging fruit enough, the gags again rely on meme references from social media. You've got everything from Lappu Sa Sachin, Damiya Grrr, and even bloody Ben Stokes, really making me wonder why the comedy cannot be of the situation versus a reference to a popular meme that already becomes outdated. Ayushman, in some instances, becomes like his character from Vicky Donor, randomly saying things like "Compro karne aaya hu main, ye to crazy ho gaya," and you start thinking, the writing is happening like buzzwords to extract reactions from the audience like a stand-up set versus staying true to the character and how they will react. The comedy is a huge hit and a miss in this film. Passable performances and strong VFX. One thing is very clear when you watch this movie, that the performances in this film are rather basic and passable at best. Paresh Rawal playing Ayushman's father has the only moment of earnestness when he is in disbelief and almost on the verge of crying when he sees his son transform into this unrecognizable being. The romance between Rashmika and Ayushman feels rather odd because it barely gets any time to be established and both get obsessed with each other. I can still get invested in one simply falling in love, but it doesn't spend ample time in justifying how they become such ride or dies for each other. Ayushman is in very safe territory in this film, as he is playing a naive Dilli ka Londa, which he has anyway mastered, and to see him confused and baffled on the changes taking place around him are marginally entertaining. Rashmika struggles with her Hindi dialogues, and while I empathize with this being her second language, and probably third or fourth language, who knows, and most production houses roping her in for her popularity, in moments of conflict and frustration, the Kannada twang in her Hindi spills over many times. There are some awkward kisses also that are placed at the height of drama, and it somewhat breaks the flow of storytelling. But there isn't a performance in this film that will blow you away. Even supporting actors like Faisal Malik and Satyaraj playing the role that he played in Munjia are satisfactory at best. However, one thing that is undeniable is that the film is technically brilliant. It uses CGI elements in various frames that include a bear attacking Ayushman, Yakshasan developing a ghost-like figure on his shoulder as he grows stronger, the more powerful bhediya reaching his final form, and aesthetically, the film with its representation of the world where the Betals reside is genuinely intriguing. So from a visual standpoint, I cannot fault this movie. The problem is that the storytelling follows expected beats and leaves a lot to be desired for a film associated with such hype. Wasted villain. When it was announced that Nawazuddin Siddiqui would be playing the villain in Thamma, I got genuinely excited for Nawazuddin, at least in his heyday post Gangs of Wasipur, was in an absolute dream run when he was making the best artistic and commercial choices. I remember getting absolute chills seeing him in Raman Raghav, being floored by what he was capable of when tapping into the deep, dark depths of human psychology. I was so entertained by what he pulled off in Kick. I was so floored by the unpredictable and manic state he possessed in Badlapur. The man always brought something different, and it would be genuinely horrifying when he portrayed these antagonists. He is barely there in this film, mostly confined to this bloody gufa. I understand that the Maddock Horror Comedy Universe is usually light-hearted, but there needs to be some fear, some eerie atmosphere and intrigue associated with the film's villain. And Nawazuddin as Yakshasan develops absolutely zero fear within you. The man is a joke of a villain who does not even seem like a credible threat, for he seems just like an insecure bully who is lustful for power but lacks the leadership to be intimidating. Nawazuddin is constantly joking around in this film. He speaks in this broken English dialogue every time he gets an opportunity, and it fits better in the worlds of what Prakash Raj did in Wanted and Singham rather than this horror comedy universe. The threat is so easy for Ayushmann that it almost seems like a joke, which made me conclude what the purpose of this film is. This movie, and its peak, its best moment, is its cameo appearance by an important character from this universe. The movie presents that sequence like a full-blown Mortal Kombat Tekken battle, and it's hilarious because the presentation of this character is far better in the 2 cameo appearances he or she has done than the solo movie that was dedicated to them. When you see the battle happen, you almost feel like this is the movie you wanted to see for it. It's so exhilarating and exciting. And you finally conclude that Thamma's purpose is actually setting up this battle and the conflict that will arise later. Thamma as its own core storyline is rather generic. If there was no connective tissue of this movie to a bigger universe, it would actually be the most mid-horror comedy film. What gives this film some injection of life is that the potential of what has been showcased and what lies ahead is very, very exciting, making Thamma, for me personally, an average fare at best, because it's a mere stepping stone than having a sole entity that will be remembered for weeks to come. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Thamma. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.